Hey everyone, today we are ready to finally start rebuilding this basement wall. So I've done a whole bunch of prep work to get ready for this point. As you saw in a prior video, I smoothed out the concrete, filled in some patches where the walkway is. There was a bit of a hump in the concrete that I smoothed out from a prior patch. And I cut some pieces of wood to put in where the wall is being replaced, and I lined up the doorway for between the stairway and the hallway. So let me kind of show you a little bit of what I did here to plan for all of this. Again, this wall over here used to exist, but we took it down because it was a patchwork of different pieces of 2x4s, and we're going to make it a lot nicer of a wall. And to line everything up, I did use my laser level. Actually, I did a couple things. So I started with the laser level. I got that lined up. You can see the green just kissing the drywall there. Up here, I got a 2x4 temporarily up there. Well, it's going to be the one that goes up there. I just got to screw it in place. It's just held in place with a clamp at the moment. But as you can see, my line is just kissing that edge of that 2x4. And the same on this end. Kind of fades out as you go to the edge, and I did that on both ends, and that's how I established the edge. You can see I drew on the ground with some Sharpie of where the line is, and I also double checked that measurement by measuring from the back wall to here. I also did try measuring from here to the existing walls, but these are slightly off. These walls over here, they're very close, but they're, I think, somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 inch off of being in a nice straight line. So and then for the doorway lining up, I did a couple of different measurements. So I took a straight edge, and I started out by going along the bottom here and lining it up along the edge of this, and that established a line. And just since that wasn't much to go by, what I also did is I went up along the wall, measured the distance between the 2x4 here and the level, and double check the measurement down there to make sure that they were the same. And I did the same thing over on this side. So that established the opening. I double checked the width to compare it against this. It matches. So we are all set for where everything is going to go. So as for this board here, let me shut the laser level off. I already cut a piece of 2x4. This is pressure treated, but for an added layer of protection, I used some of this window and door flashing and stuck it along the bottom and the sides. And this section already had some of these carriage bolts in the ground, and usually I don't care for these, but since they were already here, I'm going to reuse them. And We're going to use these 3, and then we're going to drill a new hole with the Tapcon over on that end. I'll be glad to finally have this in place because I've been tripping over these little nubs for ever since I took this wall down. And for this particular one here, I had to drill a little extra notch into the wood because the mount was driven a little further than it should have been. Okay, those are all tight. We're on our line. So let's drill out our last mount here. So I'm going to use a 1/4 by 2 3/4 Tapcon. With a washer on it. we go. So, I guess next, let's install our metal flanges here. So again, this is going to be a doorway, and I really like using these metal flanges rather than a short piece of wood or having the 2x4 directly on the concrete, because you can lock this down into the concrete so it won't move, and since it's a door, the chances of kicking this are pretty high. And if you have just a short piece of wood, chances are it's going to split. And if you just have the 2x4s going straight down to the concrete, there's not a really great way to anchor those into the concrete. So I find these to be a great solution. And again, I already drew out where these need to go. But I didn't put my screw hole locations, and I gotta find my, there it is, my Sharpie. You see where I made a minor calculation error there when I was trying to get everything lined up. It looks good. Do the other one over here. All right. Drill some more holes. Some of those look like they might have drifted a bit when I tried to drill them. Yeah, those are actually pretty darn close. Perfect. Let's do the other side. drill the holes in these a little bit bigger for these particular Tapcons. So give me a moment, I'll go do that off camera. Alright, so I drilled those holes just a tad bigger so the screw will fit in there. And it's a nice snug fit. So I'm not going to put any washers on this because the metal itself acts as a washer. But what I am going to do is, again, I'm going to put some flashing material on these on the bottom. Hopefully give them just a little bit of added layer of protection against rusting. This center portion of the basement does seem like it stays extremely dry, so this is probably extreme overkill, but it only takes a few minutes, and like I said, it's an added layer of protection. I can't remember if I mentioned it, but I'm using 1/4 inch by 1 1/4 inch hex head Tapcons on these. And I'm getting these nice and snug. You don't want to over tighten them because you will snap them off. But you also want them nice and tight so nothing moves. On the other side, you can see cut a piece of the flashing. All right, got our flashing on there. And we'll install this one. is done correctly by opening between these two. Should be about 38 and a half. 38 and a half on the money. Perfect. So that is just big enough for a 36-inch wide door. And the opening for the hallway, 38 and a half inches. So I guess really quick, let's finalize mounting that top piece of wood. So what I'm doing for up here is I pre-drilled some holes in the I-beam. There had been a few, but very minimal prior. They had used just normal machine screws with nuts on them for some reason. And again, they only used like a couple, which I thought was inadequate. And I'm not going to be able to get my drill in there. Plan B, I'll use my screwdriver. One moment, let me go grab it. Alright, well, I just barely have enough room to use my hand screwdriver. The ceiling that's getting in my way. should do it. Ready to install some studs. So there we have it. Ready to put some studs in for the doorway and for this wall. So that'll do it for this video. Thanks for watching, everyone.